Warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world. Tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.
Welcome to UFO MAXX. I ate Grantavious Maxx. This guy looks tasty.
I think I'm next.
Oh, every week we do a show on Wednesdays. It's called UFO MAXX with Grantavious Maxx and Lee Strauss. Oh, this isn't going to last long.
No, I don't imagine.
You know that whole El Volador thing? I don't know how he pulls it off.
I don't know, especially with a voice like that.
All right, everybody, we're back on our Wednesday, 8 to 9 Pacific Standard Time, UFO MAXX, with me and Lee Strauss, who's also on Element 115. We got quite the show tonight. It's not as jam-packed as last week, but it's still very interesting. Kitty Cattywack is in first place. Mel WD is in second. And Andy Cowley looks like he's in third. Welcome, everybody, to UFO MAXX.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind my 6-year-olds. These are very uncomfortable, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I saw this lady wearing one that looked like Chewbacca.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, the viral one. And she just had a blast. And I'm telling you what, I got some whiskers and it pulled like 8 of them out just getting that off. Yeah. All right. Let's see who all's here. Let's see. So we said hi to Kitty Cattywack, Andy Crowley, WD, Kira. Welcome. Love her. She's awesome. And Barb Madison, welcome back. Let's see. Tyler 420. Hello to you as well. David Nornberg, good evening. Spaced Out Radio is also in the chats. Lil Cam 51, you are present. Roll call tonight. We don't normally do roll call, but we've been doing it anyway. Cosmic Joe Chronicles, welcome the jacket. Welcome back. All right. Mayor I am or Mayor Marim Dave. We'll put that up just so everybody can read that. Nina Williams, hello to you as well. Brooke Michelle, blessings to you. Undead Jed, Nanu. Oh my gosh, I miss him so much, by the way.
Oh boy.
I mean to tell you. Let's see. We got Necessary Dialogue. Welcome back. Race Fan, good seeing you, my man. Delilah, hello. Kurt M, good seeing you. Let's see. I think Philip Blair, welcome, my friend. Greetings to you as well. All right, so let's get into this. There's a little bit of a discussion that we need to have about what happened at the White House. There's a meeting by, and how do you say this dude's name? Kratsios? Is that?
Don't ask me on the spelling with that one. Holy cow.
So Michael K, and it's Kratsios. Kratsios. I'm just going to pronounce it that way.
Kratsios.
Yeah, and so I got this on Newsweek. In fact, you shared it with me first, which was really interesting. And we're just going to go ahead and go through exactly what they said. And so this is a comment made by White House Scientist Advisor Michael Kratsios, and it has gone viral after a speech in which he claimed U.S. technology can manipulate time and space.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, what is right? I mean, that brings back the whole possibility of the 30 and back club and all of that weird stuff that came out in like the late 1990s. Or wait. 2000s. Yeah, the 2000s.
30 and back. That's Rodriguez. He calls him, it's Rodriguez, but he calls himself Rodriguez.
Oh, there's
what is his name? It was hold on. I'm actually going to bring out my phone because I know I have his actual personal phone number.
Now,
go ahead.
I was going to say, these scientists are saying right now that they can't go back in time, but they can go forward in time, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tony Rodriguez. I've actually talked to him personally, and that's what did he do? It's the 30 and back. Like you get as a child, you go to war, you do 30 years, then you get brought back as a child, and then you live the rest of your life.
Right.
That's him. Yeah. No, him. I remember that. All right. SSP program, says Delilah. I believe that's what it is. What does that the SSP stand for? Why won't you let me show you?
I have no idea. Secret space program.
Oh, that's it. Hey, thank you. Good job. Tony Rodriguez or Rodriguez. That's what Rodriguez. But I have his number. I actually showed that on air, so don't pause it and look. It's all right. All right, we'll just keep going. Whatever. So, I mean that. Let me stop with the very first sentence of Newsweek here when they said that they have the ability to manipulate time and space. So you're Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So am I. So what color was the sun when you were a kid? Like before 10? Do you remember walking outside and everything was kind of bathed in yellow?
Yeah, kind of a yellowish color. Yeah.
So now it's like ultraviolet blue, hyper white, I guess you would call it. I actually had this conversation yesterday with a bunch of my employees, and I was like, hey, because they asked me all kinds of funny questions throughout anytime. They just hit me with it. Yesterday, it started out with the earth is flat. And when they were watching the Bebo, whatever her name is, when she's like, I'm on many lists and the earth is flat and we never landed on the moon and Joe Biden got 88 million, and so they were asking me about it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you something, look out in space and look at Saturn, look at Jupiter. We can see that. If you get a pair of binoculars, just a normal pair of binoculars, you can almost make out Saturn's rings. You can see the moons around Jupiter and stuff. So you deduce what you want to from that. But they start bringing up Admiral Byrd and all kinds of funny stuff. And I got to answer these things. And I'm like, dude, I am not a scientist. I am not someone that's read into any of these programs. It's very interesting that the only actual written out, so the Antarctic Treaty is the only treaty that no one's ever broken. So that's very interesting. But when I go back to when I was like 8, 9, 10, and I look at what we see today and what we saw then, things are different.
Or what we remember back then. Yeah.
That's it. It's what we remember. That's another thing is when you come to the Mandela effect, and that really messes with people's heads. The cornucopia on the underwear, or Fruit Loom, or Shazam with Sinbad, which I did personally see myself. And he says, "Oh, that never happened." And the crossing of timelines. If we have the ability to manipulate time and space, that would be like the missing link to the reason why all these things are different. It's kind of like the butterfly effect,
Yes. And I'm glad you are touching on the subject, because they say every time that you go forward in time, you go somewhere else, right? You're splitting off into another reality.
So basically, every decision you make changes your direction in time. Okay, I got that. That actually kind of makes sense, because I remember as a kid, I was like, I wonder if 5 minutes ago me makes the same decision I just made. And that was me when I was like a little kid. I was like, I wonder, because I believe in, different dimensions, I guess you would call it. And I think time is a dimension, or multiple facets of a dimension.
Right.
And then, so like, let's say I made a bad decision in this timeline, but me, in the past on a different timeline made a different decision, and who knows where I could go. There's been a lot of people that say back when CERN started the Hadron Collider and the first atom was, or whatever, they were crashing together, trying to create whatever, that we actually accidentally created a black hole. Everybody died, and we all just kind of, our consciousness just kind of morphed into a next timeline. Who knows, man?
Right.
Who knows?
Yep. It's a, that subject will take you down so many roads, just endless. It seems like every time, it's possible that every time we do make a decision that we go into an alternate timeline, and when we pass away, we can experience all those previous decisions differently. You know what I mean? To see what the outcomes were.
So the way I look at life, and I mean, you're spot on with the way I look at it. I was brought up in a religious home. I've since wandered, I guess you would call it, not walking the path, as my grandparents would call it. And they're like, well, what do you believe in? And I'm like, I think that each and every one of us is the same person. I think that it's all one consciousness, and we're just facets of that same consciousness, like a stone with multi-billion facets on it, and we're all experiencing this life, whether it's on planet Earth or somewhere else, it doesn't matter, but we're all experiencing it in a 3D dimensional world that it can't do by itself. So consciousness is kind of ethereal. It's like a ghost almost. It's there, but it can't experience it. So then it takes on these avatars, so to speak, and then it experiences it. I've even gone so far as to almost start thinking like, well, I think that we all, like, my consciousness is experiencing me as Grantavious Maxx. Your consciousness is you as Lee Strauss. And then someday I might experience your consciousness. I might be you, and you might be me. It just, I don't know, dude. And that's the reason why when people have near-death experiences, they're like, oh, all time it's all there in one shot. Everything's happening at the same exact time. You're just integrating yourself wherever you want in that stone, so to speak. I was like, man, I wonder if I could actually do this now and then go back to, when we first discovered trains. That'd be kind of cool. So here comes the sun. Great song. There's also another one I'd like to hit in there. Black hole sun.
Oh, there you go.
Won't you come? All right. So I'll leave that there. I'm a horrible singer. Don't look me up on YouTube, because no, I was in a band for a long time, and I've written over 200 songs. I still play. People can find me if they look really hard. And I played live over the radio for 3 hours once. And there's, I think, 2 or 3 videos out there of that, and then of different songs that I had played. I think one was a cover, 2 were originals. And then there's another one with me in a green shirt that was actually another original, but I've written over 200. Let's see why this matters. Let's get back to topic. The viral interpretation of Kratsios' comment reflects the growing impact of social media in framing public understanding of the government message or messaging. While the White House has not issued a formal clarification, the speech wording suggests that the phrases was metaphorical. Intended to refer to the transformation or transformative nature of modern innovation, not literal manipulation of space-time. Yeah, right. And this is where we get off into the deep end, because everybody's told what to say anymore. But there is a quote: our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity, unquote. That is quite profound.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take this of what we're talking about now with Kratsios and what Coulthart and Bryce said in a, I don't know if it was really an interview, but more of a discussion between them.
Yeah.
And you watched that, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. They don't agree on a lot of things. Bryce is definitely more nuts, bolts, alien. And then Coulthart is now getting into it's us. Most of it.
Well, that's what's coming out lately. I mean, it seems like they're saying that the Tic Tac now is our technology, right? They're saying that all the drone stuff that happened back east in New Jersey, that at first that was Chinese, right? And then they're claiming that we sent our own tech up after that.
Correct.
And now I heard what today they're saying that it's the possibility that China is leapfrogging us in this technology, which I don't agree with necessarily, because way back in 2000, if we had the Tic Tac, then we wouldn't be necessarily getting leapfrogged here.
Okay, let's dissect this a little bit. Kratsios, we can manipulate space-time. Coulthart says it's Lockheed Skunkworks that has this technology, that the Tic Tac, that's exactly where it came from. There's been people that have gone in there, seen the tech, and it's us. Okay. There was also talk about us hiding it, and the reason why we're hiding it is because it's actually easy technology to come across. It's easier than we think it is. And it's kind of like, keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they don't want to show their cards, but at the same time, you have somebody like Commander David Fravor is watching this thing, who's very intelligent, and says it went back to their cap point. When they came across it, there was something under the water. Okay, cool beans. But then if it's our technology, where in the holy heck did we get it? And he also states that, yes, not everything in the sky that we see is ours. There, admittedly, there's going to be UAP, strange phenomenon up there. Obviously, there's crashes. And then Bryce is coming back like, well, look, like, let's do a timeline here just real quick. If you took a very long strand of hair, let's say 20 feet long, and that's exactly the amount of time humans have been on this planet. Okay. And the last 1/100th of an inch on the other end of that strand is when the Wright brothers first flew their little plane. And then now we've gone to the moon, we've made a spacecraft, and now we're making Tic Tacs that can fly from 80,000 feet to sea level in less than 3 seconds. It's like, okay, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Where are we getting this? You have multiple people in our military, scientists that can't explain things. Well, you're just going to call all of them, like, hey, you didn't see what you saw?
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, it's happened in the last 80 years.
Oh,
as well.
Easily. All within 80 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they say, I remember when I was a kid in school, I was probably in 6th, 7th grade, something like that, where we found out that lasers were from alien craft, and things like saran wrap, or not saran wrap. What was it?
Velcro.
It was Velcro. That's what it was. It was Velcro. Aliens using Velcro. And yes, we need Bob Lazar to give his thoughts on this. I've actually been by his shop every morning for the last 3 days, and he has not been there. So I don't know where he's at right now. He might have showed up later in the day, but I usually see him, and he wasn't there the last 3 days. So that's an interesting thing. But anyways, they start talking about, just like you were saying, it's Lockheed Skunk Works. He is not, how would I say this? He doesn't have physical evidence, and he's not going to give up his sources. But he is entirely sure, and he's adamant on it, that the Tic Tac was ours. Could you imagine?
Well, if we do have that technology, we rule the skies, right? Not just the skies, but underwater and in space. So, right? If we have that tech, there's nothing that we can't accomplish, really.
Yeah. Well, Matthew Brown, we have a tech, and they're leaving us normies behind.
Right. Exactly. I mean, what can they do off world that we don't know about?
There could be, for if we had this technology, according to Coulthart, we have figured out anti-gravitic technologies in the 50s. I believe it was mid 50s. If we were able to figure that out then, and then you have a group of scientists or people that have literally left this world, and they're like, oh, we're going to go explore this, explore that, and go find these crazy things elsewhere. It's Kitty Caddywhack. Thank you so much for the super sticker. We really appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much.
So, John Smith says Nikola Tesla, rod of God. I remember that, the rods of God. That's more of a, what was it? Tungsten carbide rods that fall from a satellite in space, and they get so much momentum. It's like a nuclear blast when they hit.
Yeah.
I remember those. I remember hearing about that a long time ago. But if we had technology like the Tic Tac back in 2004, when the Nimitz and Commander David Fravor and all them saw that, can you imagine what we have now? And they're just releasing. Look at it. They even talked about SR-71. SR-71 was a secret project. It was a spy plane, and it was literally a secret for a couple decades or maybe a little less, but forever.
Yep. Here's the one thing about the Tic Tac. You mentioned it went to the cat point, right?
Right.
So either they have radio in there and it's ours, and they knew exactly where they were headed, or if they don't know that, like if that's like all digitized inside the plane, how would us as humans know that that's exactly where they were going?
Well, right? Yeah, because that cat point was actually secret to that ship, or to the war games that they were playing at the time.
So if it's ET and they can read minds, they know exactly where to go.
Well, yeah. And I mean, and that's where Bryce kept going with it, because he kept fighting against it, and they have different viewpoints. And I love Ross. Coulthart he's a good journalist. He really is.
He's awesome.
And so, was the Tic Tac ours? And he believes it is. It probably was. But that also is kind of telling. He's also very explicit on saying that China has, with the drones, when they came over here, not all of them were China, but they were kind of showing off and being like, look, we can do this. And it got very, very dark very quickly in that interview. Whereas, like, if what Ross believes is true, then we're in a lot of trouble, because everything that we have made here, a lot of those components are made in China. We contract them to make these parts for us. So he was also saying that if we ever got into a skirmish with them, they can literally just start producing this stuff, en masse, and stop sending us the stuff, and they would win just because of that.
Yes, exactly. But I do know that we have quite a few of. I know that TMNC or something like that from Taiwan is coming over here to build a factory. I did hear that, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and Philip Blair says, how difficult is it to build this tech, though? How costly? Well, when you have all these secret black programs, they're making this new plane, the Aurora or whatever it is. I don't remember. Anyways, or Dark Star. I don't know. SR-72. Obviously there's a bunch of money from a lot of governments, from a lot of countries going into these projects. So I don't know if cost is really an issue for them.
Yeah,
honestly. And here we go. Watch this. So I'm just distressed to see people making the preposterous argument that the U.S. military is capable of virtually anything. And no, they are not. In fact, that was one of the statements that was said in there. Ross was saying that we have been caught with our pants down. We are not capable of everything. And when another country comes up, with something greater than us, then we're playing catch up. If you can go to something as simple as Russia and their what are those underwater torpedoes? Their torpedoes go twice as fast as ours. They have this cool technology, hypercavitation or something like that. That what it's called, and it makes it a little bubble that goes around it and it hauls butt through the water. We didn't have that, we're not the spearhead of every technology, unless if you look at the government and Lockheed. So Lockheed and anybody that we subcontract, we have these multi-billion dollar deals with, they're left with the ability to create something and do we're paying for it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to tell us everything that they're figuring out.
Right.
So, and they even talked about that. I've heard that talked about on another podcast. We're like, well, should Congress go after them? Should we go after them and be like, hey, we have, what is it called? Where we paid for
I know
it.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Specific rights over technology that's made here in the U.S. but I know what you're intimate domain.
Intimate domain. Yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely that could come into play, of course.
Well, yeah, but I don't know, man. This when you start talking about things like the ability to manipulate time and space. That is such a crazy statement.
It is. And to come out of, the White House like that.
I don't know. There's another quote here. The quote about manipulating time and space appeared alongside references to artificial intelligence, aerospace, and productivity tools. In context, Kratsios invoked, quote, the choice of individuals to craft new technologies and give themselves the scientific discoveries that will bend time and space and make more with less. Now, here's the deal. Make more with less, meaning this technology actually isn't as difficult as we think it is. Second, they even talked about the fact that we have slowed down. So in the 20th century, we literally just went berserk with technology. Now we're purposely slowing it down. And for what reason? Like, did we find something that is just like, holy mackerel, like we got to.
Yes. So I remember that they slowed it down in the ways that we're still using, traditional aircraft. We're still using vehicles that run on fuel. And well, yes, of course it has to do with money, but they purposefully are slowing things down because the holy grail is that, the tech that we have, we don't need to spend the money that we're spending. Right. I mean, that's the stuff that they're keeping behind the bar that they don't want the normies to get a hold of.
The normies, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess I'm in the normie group. Most of us probably are, unless you're a scientist out there that happens to have a little bit of it in the know. I don't go out of my way to call people like Avi Loeb and anybody else that's in those realms. The reason why is obviously you can call them and talk to them. Avi is more willing to talk to people, but there's a lot of them out there. They're just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And now I'm interested. I got to see if I have his number still too.
I would never feel comfortable reaching out to anybody like that.
No. Well, Avi's actually really cool. So I got a hold of his number and I call him, and he's not here on the West Coast like we are. And he answers the phone. It's his cell phone number, which interestingly enough, anybody can get a hold of him. You just look him up and go to Harvard and you can find a cell phone number. Don't tell anybody I told you that, but you can. And he will answer the phone. And I caught him when he was just getting ready to go into the restaurant to go eat with his family. And but he sat there for 45 minutes outside the restaurant to talk to me. Really cool guy. He gets talking just a little too quickly for me, but
yeah.
Lockheed Aurora was tested and scrapped after 2 prototypes. Then came the TR-3B Black Manta, and then the current SR-72 Dark Star. Thank you for that. Thank you, Jose. And you know what's really cool? That Manta, there was
the Black Manta.
Yeah, there was. I'll have to find it. I can look it up real quick and show people if you want to go on Google Earth to find it. It's actually the underwater manta ray. It's huge. The ships around it are massive. You can totally tell. But this underwater submersible looks like a manta ray, and it is massive. And it is on Google Earth if anybody wants to look that up.
So, interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'll look
that up for you.
You know what else was said from the White House was that we have these planes that have the ability to launch drones as well. And that was said, what, a couple months ago or whatever. But, you know, all of that, it seems to me like somebody wants to brag a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, which is good and bad, right?
It is. Here, let me do this real quick. I'll show you this thing. Just so people can see it. We're all getting to the point where everybody wants bragging rights. The problem is I think the United States is being left behind. And either that or they're just not willing to show their cards.
I don't think they're willing to show their cards currently.
There it is. Look at the size of those ships next to this thing. And this is literally a picture taken right off Google Earth.
Okay. Where is this taken? Do we know?
I can find it if I go back and let's see. Southern California. Southern California. Let me find.
I'm not far from Bangor.
Oh, this is
Washington.
No, this is down south, down in Southern California. I actually did find it. I just got to figure out what town it's in again, and then I can find it. It's just north of, is it Santa Cruz? Maybe. I don't remember now, but I'll find it and then tell you where it's at. But it is on Google Earth. I did look it up myself, and I was like, "What? No way!" Sure enough, it's there. I was like, "Whoa." The Manta Ray, a prototype unmanned underwater vehicle. UUV is designed for long-duration, long-range missions and was developed by Northrop Grumman as a part of the DARPA program. That doesn't surprise me. The discovery, initially visible in satellite imagery, has since been removed or replaced with edited images of boats. So that sucks because I must have caught it early and was able to actually find it on Google Earth.
Wow.
Darn.
Well, at least you got that photo, so that's pretty cool.
Well, somebody else got it, and then I saw it, and then I looked it up, and sure enough, it was there. I mean, we get all kinds of stuff. If we have the ability to do 500 knots under the water, man, holy mackerel. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Let me bring that up. Okay, so on top of all this, that we can manipulate space-time, there was another show that I'd watched today, and this might be news to you. Actually, I think you do know about it. There was a new interstellar object that we had found, the third one, like a Muamua, which was Avi Loeb. The person that I was listening to today said he didn't even remember number 2. I remember actually Avi had one of his students do some kind of algorithm and found multiple different interstellar or something from a different galaxy, and had come across ours. Well, which is kind of interesting because they were talking about it coming from the Sagittarius constellation of some sort and coming through our our not galaxy, but our area. But the new interstellar object is titled 3. I want to say 1 or I think it's an I 4 Atlas. Everything we know about the rare cosmic visitor. It's also called a Comet Seed /2025 N1, or also known as Atlas, and they're wondering if it's interstellar. Will it strike Earth? Can we visit it? And how are all your questions answered? I guess it gets really close to Mars. And then someone had asked, well, why don't we just go land on it and find out what it is? Because we've done that evidently before.
Yes, we have on other asteroids and stuff. So
that's like science fiction to me, dude. Like it's almost like Armageddon.
Oh yeah.
Where Bruce Willis and his drilling crew go to this asteroid in 2 ships, and great movie. It's fun to watch, but like, why don't we just do that? Well, there's nobody really set up, and they just found it 2 days ago.
Yeah, there's nobody set up now, but there has been plans in place to do asteroid mining. So the thought is that they'd capture an asteroid and then bring it in into orbit around the planet and mine it and mine these objects, which is crazy, but cool. Just think about if there was a mishap, we would be done.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just like Scott here saying, DART program, not land collide, and which is kind of what we do. But at the same time, like, there was news about the moon, because the southern hemisphere of the moon has, I guess, frozen water or
frozen
helium. I don't remember.
Or something.
Yeah, in fact, there was another thing about helium that we just finally created helium. I heard that today, and I was like, what? Like, I didn't think we were able to create that. I think it was just a natural substance that we do not know how to create, and all of a sudden we figured some way to do it, which would be really cool. That way we can have more party balloons, I guess.
But how does one create an element? You know what I mean? I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Well, we create byproducts.
Yeah.
So this is a tangent, but if you look at some of the more intricacies of how weird the moon is, there are certain elements up there. Some are radioactive. Those radioactive elements are actually byproducts of nuclear reactions that we have done here on Earth. And they're only created if man manipulates, uranium or whatever it is, and it creates this byproduct. And those byproducts are actually found on the moon. So we know that there's some really strange stuff going on up there.
Yeah.
Oh man. But this interstellar piece that they were talking about, the Atlas, the object was first spotted on July 1st. Okay, so it's been actually quite a few days. By the Deep Random Survey Remote Telescope in Chile, part of the Atlas Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System. Oh, that's great. I'm not going to get that out of my head now. It's a project. So basically, hey guys, here's your last alert. Drink them if you got them.
That's right.
So obviously this one is not going to hit us. They did. It's the third one ever seen after Oumuamua. So yeah, you guys can go read that. This is on space.com, Astronomy Comets New Interstellar Object. So if anybody wants to go check that out.
But that array that they have in Chile or whatever it is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's new, right? It just came online, like 2 months ago or something like that. And they're already capturing all of these things that they hadn't seen before. So, yeah. I mean, we think that this is uncommon, but the case may be that it is very common.
I think it is. So
Yeah.
helium-3 can be created through nuclear reaction, including those within fusion reactors and the decay of tritium. It's also naturally present in the universe, formed shortly after the Big Bang and deposited on the moon via solar winds. Some of the things that they say on here. Trust me, Google is always correct. I hate looking stuff up sometimes. You just read it and you just sigh. You're like, what the heck, dude? Oh, my goodness. There's also been an uprise of sightings that I had read about. Anybody in our chat have any sightings recently? If you do, go ahead and start writing them in there and I'll pull them up and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is I haven't had any recently. In fact, for quite a while. What about you?
Not for a while. I did capture some odd lights at Mount Adams when the roads were closed because of the snow level, and I didn't understand why there would be a light on the mountain. So that's peculiar to me. But if somebody wanted to hike in like 20 miles and then hike up onto a glacier, they could have been there, I suppose. But it just didn't make sense at the time of year.
Have you been up there to see the hangar door that was supposedly in the side of the mountain?
I've got a video to send you.
Oh, what? You've been holding out?
I did a video on the hangar door.
So everything I've ever looked at was just pictures. You know how it has that?
Yes.
It looks like a crease in the mountain. I mean, it totally looks natural to me and just lighting.
It is lighting. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Okay, let's see what we have here.
In fact, this week, Friday, I'm heading back out there again, actually.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So my favorite is Mount Shasta because I live next to it. Yours, Mount Adams. And there have been UFOs sighted over Mount Adams.
Oh, many. I've captured many.
Oh, yeah. In fact, here, let me do this. Go over here, type Mount Adams UFOs. Done. Of course, the crease comes up, the doorway. How funny. So let me do share screen, and we're going to go ahead and just show you this of what I'm looking at now. So here's the crease that I was talking about, and they got it circled over here, the doorway. But right down here, right there, hovering object and large, of course, this is right over the top of Mount Adams. That looks spherical with lights all the way around. Kind of looks like a donut. I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
But yes, there has been many sightings of UFOs over not only Mount Adams, which is a very large mountain, but as Mount Shasta as well. Everybody knows Mount Shasta for the lenticular clouds mainly. So if I was to actually go up here and type in, excuse me. There they are.
Yep.
So I see this mountain every day. And I've seen those lenticular clouds. They're constant.
We get them a lot at Mount Rainier too.
Oh, yeah. My brother has a very, very interesting photo where he did a wide angle lens. So he worked for a company called Airlink, and he had these night vision goggles, which I was able to look through. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Very expensive. I think they were $18,000. And they hook onto his flight helmet, and they kind of come down. And so one day he went out there, and we were messing around out at the base, which is just right down the street from me, actually. And he's like, "Hey, yeah, check these out," and I'm looking around. Holy mackerel, dude, the things you can see. And so I asked him, I said, "Well, excuse me, what's the coolest thing you've seen?" And he goes, "I've seen Mount Rainier and Mount, what was it?
Baker."
Oh, it was more than that. It was like 3 or 4 different mountains. Of course, anybody in the flat plane believers, you guys know exactly what we're talking about. But my brother's seen it, and it's really interesting. But it shows you like all these mountains from Shasta all the way up to Mount St. Helens almost.
Oh, the line.
It is wild, and you can see them all because I mean he flew in a helicopter, but the helicopter goes high enough where you can see all these. It's really, really interesting stuff. Lenticular clouds that he had seen over multiple mountains at many, different times, which is very interesting because I've always thought that there was UFOs hiding in those because they look like it.
Right.
And then you have Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, last week before, talking about that UFO that was hiding in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Or Matthew Brown talking about one that kind of like popped in, was like, oh crap, and then popped back out again, like, oh, I just got seen.
Yeah.
Dude, they're there. They're there.
They're there. They'll hide.
Unless
they want to be seen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what it really boils down to now.
Actually, Mel, we had 200 earthquakes at Mount Rainier yesterday.
What?
Yeah, we had 200 earthquakes at Mount Rainier yesterday. Typically we get about 9 a month, and we had 200 yesterday.
Wow, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely wild. Then we have, here we go. This is perfect. No ugly swag. So, and that is perfect. Yes, go to spacedoutradio.com/shop and you will find our swag, which is amazing. I wear it. In fact, you and I are matchy today.
Just about. Yeah.
This is awesome. This is awesome. Oh my goodness. And so I was going to look up multiple mountains, but it doesn't matter. You guys get the idea of what's out there. And it would be great to see these things. So, yeah. And
often do. There's plenty of videos that I have as well of that stuff. So,
well, let's get them on here. Let's get them shared.
Let's see. How can I do that for you guys?
It doesn't have to be tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
As long as we can do something for everybody in the chats and for everybody that's watching this, even if you're watching it 4 days from now. Our archives are always free on for Spaced Out Radio on YouTube, so everybody can come in and check those out. Also, Dave's going to be up next on his show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 Pacific Standard Time. 10, 11.
Right.
And then, of course, you have Element 115 Friday, 8 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then Rob G is on during the weekend with the After Hours show. Don't miss any of those because Dave's going to be up next. And he's my role model. His beard is epic. I will never be that cool. I will never be that cool.
No, he does have a great beard. It's funny, but I don't think I'll ever grow mine out like that.
I can't. It's impossible. I've tried.
Oh,
but unless, and everybody cross your fingers, right? Will this into existence? Whether it's a Muamua or the spaceship in the clouds, if you guys will come down and just kind of, fix me up a little bit, give me a little bit more follicles, that would be great. I know you fixed, everybody knows about Fire in the Sky. So when Travis Walton got taken up, he actually got hurt by the craft, and then they fixed him and sent him back on his way. Well, if they can do that, they can give me Dave's facial hair. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So any other news that you found this week for our UFO update?
We were talking about the moon and there being residue. Wasn't there a thing where we actually sent a nuke to the moon? Wasn't there?
I don't know. I saw something similar to that, but then at the same time, you see those shorts on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. It's one of those deals where we may have. I know that the lunar modules, they had the bottom platform that we shot back down into the moon, which is where you get the ringing of the moon and all that, because we sent seismographs or set seismographs out there. So did we do it? I don't know. So real quick, we just want to let you know that Science Bob is sick today, and it will be Lee and myself filling in for Science Bob on Dave Scott Spaced Out Radio. Catch us there. It'll be
Oh,
great.
so you got the lowdown, huh?
I got the invite. I did. Actually,
Oh,
so it wasn't even from Dave. It was El Avni. He took over for Dave this evening, slapped me around a little bit and made me say yes. He twisted my arm, put me in a suplex, and said, "Yeah." So
as
I
you
just
should.
he should, but that is all right. And
Who's this? Holy
Holy
moly!
moly. I'm not here. I'm not supposed to be here.
Okay.
where did he come from?
I have no idea.
I wasn't even touching the keyboard, man. Oh wow! Well, welcome, and it was good seeing you, Dave. His ears must have been burning. I'm telling you right now.
I think they were. I think they were. I
Oh,
know. I
goodness.
know that they were having some stuff with audio yesterday. I'd heard that he was having some difficulties with that, but
yep. And I did find out that Project A119, and this is also Wikipedia, so take it with a very large brick of salt. It was Project A119. The aim of the project was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, which would help in answering some of the mysteries in planetary astronomy and astrology. I'm sorry, but detonating a nuclear weapon on a satellite that really gives us our tides and helps life grow is probably not the wisest choice in the world.
no, I mean, I think that's the deal though, is we do a lot of things just because we can. Doesn't mean we should, but they want to see what the outcome is, you know. And I remember there was talk way back when they were going to detonate the first nuclear bomb. A lot of scientists were saying you probably shouldn't do it. You're going to ignite, you know, all of the air and the gases on the planet if you do that. So
yeah, well, I look at it this way, you know, for the last however many years that we've had any kind of nuclear technology, that's where we find our nice UFOs that show up.
yeah.
So what are we? If you really want to go deep down the rabbit hole on the Woo train and you start listening to like the Apollo 11 missions and all that jazz and what people are saying about that, especially the things that they had said over, and the ham radio operators have transcripts of this, where it looks like a parking lot down there. Santa Claus is real. You know, if we're going to be nuking the moon, who are we nuking? It's not why. Like, why would you just nuke something that is keeping us alive? Besides the sun, it's the next best thing. Why would you mess with it? Like, it's not very big. It's not very far. It's lighter than Earth. It's 2/3 the density it should be. It's like, yeah, Santa is real, Delilah. And it's like, why would we ever do that? It makes no sense. But you got to also understand, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, early 70s, we were like kids with handguns. It just, it didn't make sense. We did things without thinking first.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you have UFOs over the White House.
So I got a quick story, because we talked about the whole Santa Claus is real thing that came out, right? That was recorded by a ham operator. I have a couple people, and one person in particular that was wearing the shirt, and I don't know, you know, it said Charlie on it, said Charlie Walks. And what it is, this is a military guy. And it had a small picture of a Bigfoot on it, and it said Charlie Walks. So I'm thinking he was up in Alaska doing some training, that they saw something up there, and he had this t-shirt, military t-shirt that said Charlie Walks with a little Sasquatch.
Really?
Yeah.
So C walks.
Charlie Walks. Yeah.
Well, Charlie is the long form version of C.
Yeah, exactly. So that was interesting to me.
Interesting.
And
you know how an Ewok crosses the road?
How does an Ewok cross the road? I have no idea.
Ewoks.
Yeah.
So during the Apollo 8 mission, astronaut Jim Lovell famously stated, "Please be informed there is a Santa Claus," after the trans-Earth injection, or the TEI burn, which was a crucial maneuver to return the spacecraft to Earth. This message was an allusion to the famous "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus" letter, and was intended to convey that all was well with the spacecraft and crew. Bull crud.
Yeah.
Please be informed there is a Santa Claus. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Right.
It's good to see you guys again. We actually made it and we didn't die.
Yeah.
But to sit there and say please be informed there is a Santa Claus. No, that's please be informed. There's bases down here.
There's
not
activity.
Yeah. And in fact, I was really interested in that spacecraft that they had found on the moon. Even with that, I guess it looks fake, but the body they found in it and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And this thing's supposed to be kilometers long. How did you find the one person on board that's frozen? Whatever.
Apollo 20 wasn't like Apollo 21 or some kind of crazy thing like that.
It was like not supposed to happen. Nobody knew about it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I remember that. Whole thing.
At least you're not one of my employees. How come all of Elon's rockets look different than everybody else's? Well, it's a different technology for one. Well, it looks like it's bouncing off a dome. Oh gosh.
Oh, we're back to the flat Earth thing.
Oh, dude. The last 48 hours I have I've been dealing with a lot of that, and I'm like, dude, you guys got to quit talking to me right now. Freaking me.
Just tell them to look at the moon every night and see that it's got a curve. The light source, or the sun from behind us is hitting the Earth, reflecting on the moon. It's got a curve, right? So Earth is round.
What's really interesting is you can prove this with a simple. If you have a projector, that works best. You can use a light bulb, but the light bouncing off the walls in a room actually kind of affect it, so it's not as good. But if you have a really good projector, like we used to use in school, with the little clear sheets and everything written on it, those are great. If you use one of those and you literally put a basketball and I don't know, whatever other kind of ball you want, softball, racquetball, whatever it is, you can actually make those as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do. The only thing that really gets me is when I see the moon and I can see when it's just a small crescent, but I can see the rest of it. Of course, obviously, there's light bouncing from the sun to the moon, from the moon to Earth, back from the Earth to the moon. I'm thinking, man, that's a long distance. And I guess that can happen, but I like to think that the moon is like a balloon and we're just seeing the light through it. Call me. Dude, I'm telling you, one of these days we're going to wash that thing open. It's going to be great. And people are going to be
that would be cool.
Absolutely. So real quick, everybody, thank you for stopping by on our Wednesday night chats on UFO MAXX. It is Lee Strauss and myself, Grantavious Maxx. We will show up here in just a moment with Dave Scott on his show, Spaced Out Radio. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Go to our shop, spacedoutradio.com/shop, or just check out everything we got on that site. It's great. You can catch us here on YouTube. Archives are always free. And we will see you in just a moment.